The small town of Millstone hadn't changed much in 20 years. The streets were still lined with aging oak trees. The same grocery store with its faded sign. The same park bench where old Mr. Harrison fed the pigeons every morning. But on one chilly morning in October, something unusual happened. A shadow returned. Maya didn't see it at first. She was late for her shift at the bakery and juggling a box of cinnamon rolls. Her life was simple. Early mornings, flour on her apron, the occasional burnt bun. But when she reached the corner of Elm and Jefferson, she froze. There, sitting quietly in front of her shop, was a dog. Not just any dog. Her dog, Rusty. The same golden-brown mutt who had vanished 7 years ago during a thunderstorm. The same dog she had cried for, posted flyers for, searched every street for. She had eventually accepted that he was gone. Or tried to. But now, here he was. His fur was darker, thicker, more matted. His eyes were older, tired, but familiar. He sat perfectly still, like a statue, watching her with a calm that made her heart stop. She dropped the box. "Rusty?" she whispered, not believing her own voice. His ears twitched. Then he stood. He took one cautious step forward. Then another. And when Maya dropped to her knees, arms wide open, Rusty didn't run. He walked, slowly, trembling, and placed his head in her lap, just like he used to. She burst into tears. People stopped on the sidewalk. Car honked. Someone pulled out a phone. But Maya saw none of it. In that moment, it was just her and Rusty. 7 years vanished like fog in the morning sun. Rusty's breathing was shallow, but steady. Maya could feel each exhale against her arms as she cradled his head. The last time she'd held him like this, he was just a goofy, floppy-eared pup afraid of his own tail. Now, there was gray in his whiskers, a scar above his right eye, and the kind of stillness only time and hardship could create. She didn't ask questions. Not yet. She just held him. Eventually, she looked up and realized half the town was watching. A few familiar faces had gathered, Mrs. Jennings from the post office, her old high school math teacher, even the mayor's wife. They all stood in a gentle half-circle, as if afraid to break the spell. Maya wiped her tears and gently whispered, "Come on, let's go inside." She opened the bakery door and Rusty followed. Not with the enthusiasm of a young dog, but with the reverence of someone coming home after a long journey. His nails clicked on the tile floor as he walked straight to the corner near the oven, his old spot. He curled up slowly, resting his chin on his paws. It was like he had never left. Maya slid to the floor beside him and stayed there, ignoring the beeping oven and ringing phone. Her assistant, Jonah, peeked in from the back room with wide eyes. "Is that?" She nodded. "It's Rusty." Jonah walked over, knelt down, and scratched behind the dog's ears. "How is this even possible?" "I don't know," Maya said, voice breaking. "I thought he was gone forever." The bell above the door jingled. More people came in, not for bread or pastries, but to see, to touch, to bear witness. Someone brought water. Another left a blanket. One kid offered Rusty a blueberry muffin. Maya smiled as the dog sniffed it and gently nudged it with his nose, uninterested. A local reporter appeared by noon. Word had spread fast. She asked for a quote, a photo. Maya declined both. "This isn't a story," she said softly. "It's a miracle." Still, the story spread anyway. By evening, someone posted a photo online. Maya on the bakery floor, cradling Rusty like a lost child returned from war. It went viral. The comments poured in. "I'm crying and I don't even know them. This is the kind of news we need. I hope he stays forever." And that night, when Maya finally locked up and turned off the bakery lights, Rusty was still there. Sleeping soundly, his chest rising and falling, the way it had always done back when he was home. She made a bed for him in the corner. Not a fancy one, just a thick old quilt, the one her grandmother had stitched years ago. Rusty sniffed it once, spun in a slow circle and lay down. Maya sat beside him, her back against the oven, arms wrapped around her knees. She wanted to believe it was real, that he was real. That after all the years of wondering, hoping, grieving, the universe had finally sent him back. And though questions filled her mind, where he'd been, how he'd survived, why now, she let them be. For tonight, there was only the sound of his breath and the warmth of his body beside hers. It was enough. The next morning, Maya awoke before the sun, just like always. Except this time she wasn't alone. Rusty was curled at the foot of the bakery's old love seat, wrapped in the quilt, snoring softly. She watched him for a long moment, not wanting to wake him. It was the first time in years she'd felt that kind of peace. When she opened the bakery doors at 6 a.m., there were already people waiting outside, not for bread, but for Rusty. Children holding drawings. Seniors clutching dog treats. Tourists who had seen the viral post and rerouted their road trips just to stop by. Maya was overwhelmed. Rusty, however, handled it with quiet grace. He didn't bark. He didn't cower. He simply wagged his tail, greeted everyone with a slow blink or a sniff, then returned to his spot by the oven. Jonah laughed. He's got more fans than we do. They decided to limit visitors. Too many people at once stressed him out. So Maya put up a sign, Rusty's hours, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m., respect his space. And, remarkably, people respected it. For the first time in a long time, the bakery wasn't just a place for cinnamon rolls and apple tarts. It became a sanctuary. A quiet place where people came to feel something they couldn't quite explain. Hope, maybe? Or forgiveness? Or the ache of something lost and found again? One afternoon, a woman arrived with a small folder. She introduced herself as Andrea Hartley, head of a local shelter. She'd seen the photo online and something had stirred in her memory. She opened the folder, revealing a scan of a microchip record from years ago. I think Rusty was one of ours, she said softly. Maya's hands trembled as she took the paper. There it was, his old intake photo. A skinnier, younger version of the dog lying beside her feet now. He came in as a stray. A good dog. But one day someone broke the gate. He escaped. We searched, but... Her voice trailed off. He must have found me on his own, Maya whispered. Andrea nodded. Sometimes they just know where home is. They sat for an hour, exchanging stories. Andrea left with a hug and tears in her eyes. Rusty didn't move much that day. He slept deeply, occasionally twitching his paws in dreams. Maya wondered what memories played in his mind. Forests? Alleys? Thunderstorms? That evening, she opened the letter that had come in the mail earlier. It was postmarked from Arizona. A handwritten envelope. Inside was a short note. I saw the photo. That dog saved me 2 years ago. He showed up outside my tent when I was homeless. Stayed for weeks. Kept me warm. I called him Lucky. Looks like he found his real home now. I just wanted to say thank you. There was no name. Maya sat down hard in the kitchen chair. Rusty had been someone else's angel, too. She folded the letter gently, placed it in a box labeled Rusty, and slid it under the counter. That box was already filling up with drawings, letters, tiny gifts from strangers who had been touched by a dog they'd never met. That night, a soft rain tapped the bakery windows. Maya sat on the floor next to Rusty, combing out tangles from his fur with an old brush. He leaned into her touch, eyes closed, trusting. You took care of so many people, she whispered. Now let me take care of you. She didn't realize she was crying until a tear fell onto his shoulder. In the days that followed, more letters arrived. Stories. Paintings. One woman sent a quilt covered in paw prints, hand-stitched from rescued fabric. A boy sent his allowance with a note that said, "For Rusty's snacks." Maya started writing everything down. Rusty's journey. She didn't know if it would be a book or a blog or just a box of memories, but she wrote every night between baking and closing up with Rusty snoring at her feet. One morning, he didn't get up right away. Maya knelt beside him, heart racing. But he opened one eye and let out a long, tired sigh, then licked her hand. She smiled through her panic. Old man, she said gently. You've got more lives than I thought. Rusty wagged his tail once. And the bakery, the little town, and Maya's heart continued to heal. Together. Autumn faded into winter, and the town of Millstone transformed under a blanket of snow. Icicles hung from the bakery awning, and the scent of peppermint hot chocolate replaced the usual cinnamon rolls. Maya added a second heater in the corner for Rusty, and locals donated blankets, orthopedic pads, even a custom-made flannel coat with his name stitched on the side. Rusty walked slower now, but he still waited at the door every morning while Maya flipped the sign to open. His eyes followed her every move, calm and steady. It was as if, after years of wandering, his sole purpose now was to simply be near her. But time was catching up. One icy morning, Rusty didn't rise at all. Maya called his name. No response. She dropped to her knees, heart thudding. But then his tail gave a slow wag. Relief washed over her in a tidal wave. He was tired. Just tired. Later that day, the vet came by the bakery. Dr. Karen, a friend from school, examined him right there on his quilted bed. His heart's slower, she said gently. Arthritis in his joints. Eyes clouding a bit. But he's not in pain. Maya nodded, brushing Rusty's ear. What do I do? Just love him, Karen said. He's where he wants to be. That's everything. And so Maya did. She adjusted her schedule, baking earlier so she could sit beside him in the afternoons. The town adjusted too. Customers lowered their voices. Children sat on pillows and read to Rusty from storybooks. A local guitarist came every Saturday to play soft music in the corner. Rusty would lift his head sometimes, listening. And wag. He was becoming more than a story. He was becoming a presence. Maya began keeping a guest book on the counter, not for customers, but for people who came to see Rusty. They signed with names and notes, "Thank you, Rusty," or "You made me smile again," and sometimes just a small heart with no name at all. One entry read, "I lost my dad last month. I hadn't cried until I saw your dog. Thank you for letting me sit with him." Another, "He reminded me of my childhood dog. I didn't know how much I missed him until today." The guest book filled fast. One snowy evening, just before closing, Maya caught Rusty staring at the window. The snow outside was falling in thick sheets. She followed his gaze. A young man stood there, watching. He looked uncertain, hands buried in his coat pockets. Maya opened the door. "Can I help you?" The man nodded slowly. I think that's my dog." Her breath caught. He stepped inside cautiously, eyes never leaving Rusty. "I called him Cooper. We had him for a few months when I was going through a rough time. He helped me. Then he left. Just disappeared. I never stopped wondering." Maya gestured toward the dog. "His name's Rusty. He's been with me. Well, he came back after 7 years." The man knelt beside him. Rusty opened one eye. Then, with effort, lifted his head and sniffed the air. He gave a short, single wag. The man smiled through tears. "That's him. He remembers." They sat there for a while, in silence. Then the man stood, wiped his face, and said, "Thank you for giving him a home." Maya placed a hand on his shoulder. "Looks like he gave a lot of us one, too." That night, Maya watched Rusty sleep with a smile on her face and a heaviness in her chest. He wasn't just her dog. He had become something larger, a thread quietly stitching people together. In a world too loud and too fast, Rusty had become a moment of stillness everyone needed. That weekend, Maya hosted something small, Rusty's afternoon. Just cookies, cocoa, and quiet time. No press. No fanfare. Just neighbors sharing stories. People came and brought old photos. Some told stories about the dogs they had as children. Some sat silently, just resting in the warm smell of baked bread and comfort. Rusty stayed near Maya the whole time. When everyone left, she leaned down, kissed his forehead, and whispered, "You have no idea how much you've done." Outside, the snow had stopped falling. Inside, the oven glowed. Rusty, the dog who had once vanished without a trace, was now the quiet heartbeat of a town, a gentle force who asked for nothing yet gave everyone something they hadn't known they'd lost. Hope. That night, the town of Millstone slept a little softer. And in the bakery, under a faded quilt and beside the hum of cooling ovens, Rusty dreamed in peace. Rusty's decline was gentle, like a sunset stretching slowly across the sky. Each day, he moved a little less. Slept a little longer. But his presence never faded. If anything, it deepened. The town had come to revolve around him, not out of pity, but reverence. On his final week, something remarkable happened. A school bus stopped outside the bakery one afternoon. Maya was about to protest. It wasn't a zoo, after all, but before she could say a word, the teacher stepped inside and explained. "They've been writing stories about him," she said. "We thought maybe they could read them to him." Maya's throat tightened. "Of course." So the children came in, one by one, tiny voices reading tales of brave dogs, magical dogs, lonely dogs who found their way home. Rusty lay still through it all, eyes closed, his breathing even. When the last child finished, he opened one eye and lifted his head just slightly. A weak wag. Just one. And it was enough. That night, Maya sat beside him longer than usual. She didn't bake. She didn't clean. She just sat there, hand on his back, whispering whatever memories came to her mind. "You remember the first time you chased a squirrel into my garden? I was so mad until you came back with it in your mouth, still alive, and dropped it at my feet like a gift." Rusty let out a soft puff of air. She smiled. "I should have named you Trouble." The oven clicked off behind her. The street outside fell silent. Snow started again, gentle flakes tapping on the glass. Rusty didn't move, and sometime between one breath and the next, he let go. Peacefully. Maya didn't cry at first. She simply laid her head on his side and listened just to be sure. But there was no rise. No fall. Only stillness. She stayed like that until morning. When Jonah arrived and saw her, he didn't speak. He just knelt beside them and placed his hand on Rusty's paw. The bakery didn't open that day. Instead, the windows filled with candles. People came quietly, leaving flowers, cards, and photos. Someone brought a framed sketch of Rusty curled by the oven. Another left a worn collar from their own beloved pet. The town grieved. They grieved for Rusty, yes, but also for what he had represented. In a world that often felt broken and uncertain, Rusty had been proof of something pure. Something good. Later that week, a simple wooden box was placed under the bakery's front window. Inside, Maya placed the guest book, the letters, and the quilt. A small plaque was attached to the front. Rusty, you found your way home. You helped others do the same. Maya didn't stop baking, but something in her rhythm changed. Softer, slower. Customers still came for their favorites, but often stayed longer. Sometimes just to sit near the empty spot where Rusty once lay. Eventually, a new pup showed up at the back door. Scruffy. Nervous. Eyes full of stories. Maya opened the door without hesitation. You're not Rusty, she said gently. But if you're hungry, you're welcome here. The pup hesitated, then stepped forward. And just like that, the oven clicked on. The lights warmed the room. And the spirit of Rusty lived on, not in replacing him, but in welcoming what came next. Rusty had shown the town how to love without condition. Now, they would carry that lesson forward. Together. Over the next few months, the bakery changed. A mural appeared on the outside wall, a painted scene of Rusty sitting in front of the oven, tail curled, eyes bright. Children traced their fingers along the outline every morning. Some pressed their noses against the brick, whispering secrets. The guest book returned, this time with a new title, The Rusty Journal. People filled it with updates, hopes, confessions, and quiet gratitude. Maya added a small corner shelf with free coffee for anyone who needed a moment to breathe. People came. Not just for pastries, but for peace. Rusty had become more than a dog. He was memory. He was meaning. He was a reminder that no matter how far we roam, no matter how long we're gone, there's always a place waiting. A person waiting. A light left on. And in the heart of Millstone, under the glow of a humble bakery sign, that truth lived on in flour and sugar, in warmth and kindness, and in the quiet echo of a dog who found his way home. And stayed. Forever.